Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah. I was worried. Yeah. Where do you guys stay? We're at Stay. Okay, so we say on the floor, we say it on the floor later. Yeah, I know.
We all don't have 4 by 4s.
I know, so bad. It's like, oh my God. There was another.
Yeah, that's what
That was like our
And how are you? Just ended up at Verona. Like, I guess we're buying that now.
Just for buying something. It's a 4-wheel drive.
I was like, we are coming back here next year. It's like, I'll put it. Yeah, that's. How is it now? I know. Mid-August, something decreases by half.
Yeah, like, depending on your,
I mean, you're sad.
kids don't have access.
It's
Don't get that. Like, full sheeted, so like the kids down there.
It changed them.
I've never been to Maryland.
Okay, yeah, no, I've never gone to Jersey Shore.
Yeah, the only town. Once a drive.
I know. We overnighted in Williamsburg, like Colonial Williamsburg, we did that. For a night.
Yeah. Power through it.
But we sat through that challenge. Like those things. And I was like, I've never experienced it. We drove right into it. I know we're gonna, we're like strategizing and having trouble leaving at this point. Yeah. What happened here? Yes. Like
And then.
Yeah, right.
It's like a long day.
Welcome everybody, good evening. Welcome to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, August the 4th. To start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be aware this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and the meeting may also be audio or video recorded by persons present in the room. The first item of business is public comment. Is there anyone here who has a question or a public comment about an item that is not on the agenda this evening? Marky.
Good evening, everyone. Margie Swart. This is a follow-up to a question I posed of Chief Carroll at the last meeting, I believe, and then also I sent an email to the board and copied in Chief Carroll and Chris, the township manager, yesterday, and I know that was recent, and you may not have had the opportunity to get to some of the answers to my questions, but I thought maybe tonight you could help me out with a few. It's regarding what's commonly known as these flock cameras. I believe our system is called Viper system, Viper AI. I'm just curious, when when did we discuss or when did we approve that program? I just don't recall when that took place.
So the chief did provide the board with a response to your email today. So I don't know if I have all the answers in here, but we've got some of the answers. So to answer that specific question, we have 6 intersection LPRs now from Viper. The first one started first intersection was in 2020. And over the years, we've added to those. And the initial contract was 5 years, so each one was on a 5-year contract. So now they've reached the point of having 6 in service. One of the ones was covered by a grant for the initial 5-year period and will become our responsibility in 2027. Of the remaining 5 cameras, 4 are currently on a year-to-year basis, and this last one will be on a year-to-year in 27.
Okay. Yeah, I just recall during budget discussions purchasing the individual units for the vehicles, but I just don't ever recall, and I, obviously could have missed it, but I just don't remember talking about a competitive bidding process for the cameras. And, it just seems like there may not have been a whole lot of transparency about that. Now that it's in the news and everybody's asking about it, and I see it running wild on social media, I just thought it would be helpful to put some of that information out to the public because they're asking questions and, information is kind of running wild.
Well, we can certainly ask the chief at our next meeting when the chief's here. We can ask him about, the technology and alternatives to Viper and why he selected the ones he has.
Okay, and then so what brought my attention to it as well was that $31,000 for the software bill that you'll be approving tonight. So those 5-year contracts that you had mentioned earlier, did that include a software annual fee, or have we been paying this $31,000 for the software subscription every year?
Well, they were built up over time, right? So we've added them one at a time over the last 5 or 6 years. Initially, it would not have been 30, it would have been 5 or 6, and then if you add more, you have this ongoing annual cost of the service. I think the actual installation cost is often paid if we're having a development done. Now, I don't know how many of these might have been paid by a development. So if you remember from the conditional use hearing for the Wawa at the Parkway Shopping Center, Wawa agreed to put up the capital cost for the initial installation and then $1,000 or $2,000 for the initial annual maintenance cost. But after they've been installed, then the ongoing costs are on the township.
Great.
If you have other questions on it, I can answer them. Otherwise, I've got some
No,
more
I think
points
that's, you probably, if he answered what I had written earlier, or asked about earlier, that kind of answers the questions.
I mean, one of your questions was about what's the value being provided by these, and he is absolutely firm in his statements that the LPRs save countless hours of investigation and officer time, provide successful outcomes that would not have been possible without this technology. And the tool is used daily by officers, and he considers it one of the greatest advances in technology for police work ever.
Okay.
All
Appreciate
right.
that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else with a question? Steve?
Good evening, Steve Crum. I just wanted to ask a question on where we left the Gay Street sidewalk at the last meeting. Is it like, are we moving?
Haley Pike, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, well, Haley Pike and the Gay Street, yes. Are we going to move forward with our engineer kind of developing a plan?
So
What's the real cost?
So the next step was for Chris, Carroll Engineering, to develop a little bit more of a sketch and design of what it would look like. Per the PennDOT suggested, this is what we may be able to support. So he was going to flesh that up in terms of some information. And then we were going to talk to property owners about whether the scale of that and the potential easements that would be required to execute it would be acceptable or not. So that was the only step we've agreed to at this point.
Terrific.
And I do have Mr. Peterson coming to the board's August 18th meeting to talk about the updated sketch.
Okay.
Okay, good, thanks. One other thing to consider, I know the truck traffic through there is a problem making the turn, and that causes a lot more issues. Maybe if we don't allow trucks to come down Garfield Avenue and have to go out Turner, it might be a simpler solution to them turning that corner.
I mean, Garfield's a PennDOT controlled roadway, so yes, Garfield is.
Oh, is it?
I was just as shocked as you. Garfield is.
They don't need that, they really don't.
Garfield between Bailey Pike and Washington Avenue is owned and maintained by PennDOT. So we can't really make that call.
Good to know, or maybe we can make suggestions to them, but make signage or whatever. Anyway, thank you.
And also, just with PennDOT want to be involved in this process too, moving forward, because they're the ones who raised a lot of the issues about the proposal we had at this point. So we're going to have to buy into it too as well.
Anyone else with a question? Steve?
Thank you. Good evening, Stephen Lyons, President, City of Forsyth Farm, historic Quaker farmstead dating back to 1818, of history of local and national significance. Friday, July 31st, we attended with our legal counsel, Chadwick Schnee, the court conference status update regarding the impending demolition. It was announced that Carl Ewald has been moving forward with the Department of Environmental Protection, Fish and Game, and seeking permit approvals through those entities to establish a timeline of 6 to 8 weeks to demolish the historic asset. We are still seeking to become parties of interest, but one of our main concerns is the environmental impact this could have to the adjacent neighbors with respect to the asbestos remediation and black mold remediation. So those are, and then the main concern we have too is identifying if in fact bog turtles are in that area. We do know that Princeton Hydro conducted a study when they were building the Westtown Dam, the school there, and they did find the existence of bog turtles there. So we're just stating our concern about the timeline here. And we wish Judge Verway had been a little more lenient in considering a partial demolition, as this property is not suited for development because half of it is wetlands. A partial development would have opened the window of opportunity to stabilize the structural harm that presents to the community, but also give us the opportunity to rehabilitate it. And those are my statements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else with a question or comment? Okay, then we will move to the next item of business, which is agenda item number 4, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 15, 2026, granting preliminary final subdivision and land development approval for Westchester Kia on East Neal Street, proposing the consolidation of 3 parcels into a single lot, construction of a new 12,155 square foot commercial vehicle service building. Chris, would you mind introducing this one?
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, before the Board of Supervisors this evening is proposed resolution number 15-2026, which would grant preliminary final land development approval for a proposed subdivision and land development plan for Westchester Kia. Representatives for the applicant are here this evening. The applicant is proposing to consolidate 3 existing parcels into a single lot totaling 4.54 acres. All land is located in the multi-purpose zoning district, and the proposed improvements include demolition of the existing dwelling and commercial service building at 721 East Neal Street and construction of a new 12,155 square foot commercial vehicle service building and associated parking, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management facilities. The project previously received conditional use approval as well as relief from section 8496F1 of the Township Zoning Ordinance, and I provided copies of both those decisions in the material this evening, as well as review letters from municipal professionals and the Chester County Planning Commission. And I will bring the plans up momentarily. And then as the applicant is going through them, you can just let me know what plan sheets you'd like me to bring up.
Thank you, Mr. Bayshore. Gina Gerber, I'm here on behalf of the applicant. As you may know, this is an existing site at 328 West Town Road. This is the Kia of Westchester dealership. We are looking to expand this dealership on 2 additional properties along East Mill Street, creating a dealership campus. So the improvements are intended to provide some additional office space for existing employees that currently work at 328 West Town Road, and then also to provide some additional service area to the rear of the site that is going to provide more efficient service for customers of the dealership. Some of the benefits of this particular plan are, first off, we do have sidewalks being proposed all along the site frontage along West Town Road, as well as along East Neal Street. The applicant is also installing a public water line, which is going to provide public water both to this site as well as to a neighboring property owner that abuts this property to the west along East Neal Street. The original configuration of this site has 4 separate access points along East Neal Street. We are consolidating that down to 1 single access point, which should certainly help to improve the efficiency of traffic that's circulating in this area. We're also introducing more landscaping for the site than the ordinance requires. Although there is some parking being added, that is coming along with some porous pavement to this site to make sure that we can comply with the impervious coverage requirements under the ordinance. So all in all, I think we're improving these properties entirely, bringing them to a new use and viability within the township. This is just one waiver this evening, which, as Chris mentioned, was to allow this plan to move forward for approval as a preliminary and final combined submission. And then we would need your approval with regard to the EV chargers. So we're providing 12 EV chargers for this project. There are 8 existing EV chargers, 4 within the existing dealership building, 4 exterior to the dealership building, and there's going to be 4 new EV chargers proposed interior to the repair building that is in the rear of this site that's being introduced with this project. So under your ordinance, typically a project of this size would require, I believe, 23 EV chargers in order to accommodate customer use. Since most of the folks that are coming and going to this site are not coming to charge their cars, but rather are coming to get repairs, the dealership is taking responsibility for charging those vehicles as part of the repair process. So that's why a lot of those EV chargers are interior as opposed to exterior. So your approval would be required in order to proceed with that configuration of EV chargers. So we have Joe Rosella here from Howell Engineering to answer any engineering questions you may have. Also joined by Frank Savani with regard to the traffic proposal, if you all have any questions with regard to that as well.
Very good, thank you, Gina. Is any board member got questions for any of the folks here?
So you're going to install 4 additional chargers outside?
Inside.
Inside.
So the exterior ones are existing at this point.
There's already how many?
4 exterior and 4 interior, and it'll be 4 new interior.
So
In the service building.
In the service
8
building.
interior, 4 exterior.
You're correct, yes.
And that's with the chargers installed, that's not just like a conduit, like?
Correct.
Okay.
What are the level chargers?
I believe they're both, I believe they're 2 and 3, depending on where they're located, and I don't want to overstep my lines here, but I know they're at least a level 2.
Okay, also, do you know if there's any underground storage tanks or above-ground storage tanks on the existing or proposed property?
Above or below ground storage tanks?
Storage tanks,
Joe, do you happen to know the answer to that? I'm not aware.
either on the existing or proposed.
Yeah, there aren't any underground storage tanks. The only above-ground tanks that they will be having that will be just for associated with the used motor oil. They would be housed inside of the proposed building, and then there's a service that comes to remove them as part of the any type of automotive business that has transmission fluid, oil, and antifreeze, other fluids like that. But there isn't anything proposed or existing underground.
Okay, or any gasoline for cars?
No, there isn't any gasoline storage here, no.
Other questions from a board member?
I have a question. On sheet 15 is your lighting plan. I wonder if you could bring that up. Just want to be sure that, Shelby, I didn't chance to look at this. Will this conform with our zoning ordinances and all that for lighting and all that?
Carol looked at it, give me 1 second, we looked at it.
This is actually
Sheet 15. There it is. the lights that you're going to be utilizing here along the parking areas for the inventory, are they going to be downward and directing in? Or can you describe that kind of lighting?
Yeah, so the lighting that's proposed, the pole-mounted lighting that would be on the perimeter is an LED 3000K light. Downlit lighting, there isn't anything proposed that would be directional or lighting that would be turned upright. So everything maintains a zero plane, sharp cutoff fixture, maintained cutoff, as you can see from the plans, complying with the ordinance along the perimeter. Now, there is a little bit of spillover, a low level that will help with the sidewalks, but well within the minimal allowable cutoff for the fixtures. The building mounted lights are the same. They're also, there's only 2 proposed, and they're all down light, dark sky compliant LED lighting.
I don't see anything in the Carroll letter that calls out anything that's not compliant with the lighting, so I'm assuming they've reviewed it and found it to be satisfactory to the south.
And there's no residences that are in the vicinity?
No, there are no residences nearby, no.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple of questions, Mr. Isella. The review letters, so it's on this decision number 3, the review letters from our engineer and from our traffic engineer had quite a few comments in them. They were dated June 30th, so they're pretty recent. Decision number 3 states that prior to the release of the plans for recording, applicants shall comply with all comments and conditions in the review letters. Given your review of those letters, I said there's quite a few comments in there. Do you see any of those requirements being a problem that would necessitate?
No, for this application, we've referenced the plans that go along with the original review letter. Since then, we've responded to all those comments and made a resubmission. So to answer your question, we've complied with all of the outstanding comments.
Okay, thank you. Chris, could you go to the previous slide? So one of the issues that came up during the conditional use hearing was that the arrival of new vehicles would be, any unloading of a truck bringing the vehicles in would be done within the property. Can you just explain how that is accomplished and it will not be done on the streets?
Yes. And to your point, there was a comment that we addressed and revised in our plan. So a car carrier would come into the site off of West Town Road, most likely coming off of 202, and then would make a left onto East Neal Street, and then will proceed into the site in a northerly direction that would bring them up behind the existing building. And currently, there was an area here, even though all of this area on the western or rear of the site is all inventory parking, the township engineer and traffic engineer asked us to widen this island so that the truck could engage in that area rather than block any of the aisles. So the truck would pull forward back into this area, do the unloading, and place the vehicles where all the inventory storage is. Then they would proceed easterly through the existing driveway, out onto West Town Road, and most likely proceed then south back out onto 202. And that would thereby eliminate the potential for any loading or unloading out on West Town Road.
Okay, thank you. This is more a comment than a question, so I do want to thank you and the owner and all of the applicant folks involved in what I believe is a reasonable response to our EV requirement. The whole intention when we put that ordinance in place was to give language that allowed some flexibility to talk about what made sense for the particular use. And as explained in your letter of July 6th, I found that a very compelling case for what makes sense for that particular owner of the property. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 15, 2026, granting preliminary final land development plan approval for the consolidation of 3 parcels located at 328 West Town Road and the demolition of the existing dwelling of the commercial service building on Neal Street, construction of a new 12,155 square foot building. Is there a second? Thank you, John. Is there any public comment or questions on the motion? Is there any board comments or questions? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda is number 5, discussion and possible approval of a waiver from land development for a project at 300 Snyder Avenue. Chris, would you mind introducing this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is consideration of a waiver of land development for a project at 300 Snyder Avenue. The applicants, Richard and Emma Smith, are proposing to constructing a parking area for construction equipment and associated stormwater management facilities at this property. No buildings are proposed with this application. The applicant did previously receive variances from the zoning hearing board from sections 8454E1 and 8454F1 of the zoning ordinance, and I provide copies of the decision that was issued. Board of Supervisors did review the zoning hearing board application at the meeting on June 17th, 2025, and remained neutral on the application. The property is located in the I-2 zoning district. In reviewing the application, we believe that a waiver of land development should be considered for this project given the nature of the proposed work. Sean Daniels from Carroll Engineering Corporation conducted a preliminary review and provided certain comments. In discussing this with Mr. Daniels, our goal in making this recommendation to the board is to streamline the process given the following. There are no buildings proposed with the project, and as a result, there are no water or sewer utility extensions proposed. The use is already established in this location, and there are limited uses along Snyder Avenue in the vicinity of the property, and the proposed project does not abut a residential use or district. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their meeting on July 14th, 2026, and voted 8-1 to recommend approval of the waiver of land development for this project. And the applicant has agreed in writing to allow the review time clock outlined in the municipality's planning code to not commence until the board renders its decision.
Thank you, Chris. Does the board have any questions?
And I can bring up the plans as well. And we do have representatives from the applicant here this evening in case the board has any questions for them.
Hello,
Could you just state your name, please?
Tyler Ladd with Howell Engineering.
Thank you. Board questions or comments?
What's your anticipated start date on this project?
Talked to Chris today. He said if this goes through, he said, I think there's another, is it county or something? Is it EPA or someone?
Yes.
Which,
We still need to submit for an NPDES permit.
which he was waiting for this. If everything went in a row, I think he said 3 to 4 months from now, I could potentially break ground.
Maybe sometime in the fall?
That would be nice. Yes.
And that's Chris Daly, correct?
Yes.
Now, doing the new construction, do you anticipate any interference of traffic that would be concerned along Snyder Avenue?
No, sir. None that's not there. My current business is, we just lucked out with the property. My current business is across the street from it on the other side of Snyder Avenue. We're just going to be doing the same thing we're doing there.
All right, thank you.
Other questions from the board? I have one thing that's confused me a little bit. So as part of the West Goshen Sewer Authority, there was an outstanding escrow account for the property that was developed adjacent to this, the self-storage. And in there is supposedly, we're waiting for an easement to be established for a sewer line that was intended to be connected to any future development of this property. Are you aware of that? Is it impacted in any way by what is happening here?
I believe, Chris, if you can go to the title sheet, this next page. Along the left-hand side of the property, we are proposing to extend the existing sewer main from where it is currently capped at the self-storage property to the south, extend it up just shy of Snyder Avenue to the north, and cap it as well. There's no functional purpose for it right now. It would be a directional bore for the sewer extension. It would just be extending it through the property while we're on site.
Okay.
For any future connections if needed.
Are you intending as part of that to look to provide an easement to the sewer authority? You're just going to wait until it would actually have a use?
I imagine we would wait till, I think we would probably issue an easement now, since it's connecting into the existing main.
You're gonna put a pipe in now,
That would be the intent.
then you
yes.
need the easement now.
Yeah, there's no connection to that. It's just a start.
Correct.
States in the property, so there's no new service being connected. But if they ever wanted to dedicate it to the authority as an active line, they would need an easement. So if you do anything now that would prevent a normal easement being done, that'd be a problem. But it doesn't look like it.
No, it's just a parking lot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
So you put a sewer line underneath the parking lot, but is it a main that you need an easement for, or is it a lateral?
You're doing a lateral, right?
It's,
No, they're doing, he stated that they're doing a main and
So we only
stuff.
need an easement for a
it's a
main.
main extension, it's not under the
Okay.
parking lot directly, it's just adjacent to it, up the left-hand side of the
So we
property.
need an easement
So
now?
it's like in an area of a setback, that if you were gonna do a building, it wouldn't impact the
Correct,
ability?
it's in the
Okay.
setback off the property.
Okay. Has anybody been in touch with you about that, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm a blacktopper, and I just trust Howell, and these guys are here. I just want to do everything above board.
No,
and I'm
no, we
gonna put this
appreciate
in
it.
Howell's hands. And
Just trying to think about.
The
future planning.
logic behind the sewer line from where I'm coming from was just that I'm gonna be in there with, lack of a better word, bulldozers and stuff. So if a line needs to be brought up from the other property, we might as well do it then. If we need to do what we have to do, I'm happy to do it.
We also have received questions about that specifically from the PADEP, just as part of our sewer plan waiver. So we provided the same information to them as well.
So Chris, if we do grant a waiver of land development, would this particular issue get resolved through some other process as part of the review that would happen?
Not really, other than the future development, but I mean, if it's something that the sewer authority is asking for. I'm not clear who's asking for it. Is it the sewer authority, or is it the prior developer?
I'm just asking a question when that what's on there now is a escrow account for the prior development that talked about a sewer line being.
I almost think that they were supposed to go out and ask for the easement. I mean, why else would they require them to hold an escrow if they weren't putting an
Well, the
obligation
normal,
on
it's
it?
just their normal escrow. So it was used as part of whatever was done on the property as part of the development, the
Right.
storage thing.
Right. But
And they
why was
haven't
that a
yet-
line item?
And the reason it hasn't been refunded to them is because there's an open item that there was a construction of a sewer main that would need an easement that hasn't been.
Right, that's what I'm
brought to
saying,
the
I think
authority.
that's weird that they would require that developer to post any escrow for it if they were not gonna put also an obligation for them to go and try to seek to get the easement. Do you know what I mean? Like what, I don't see why are we asking them to hold money for it if we weren't gonna then say, you need to go seek and try to get the.
I don't have the full details of why
Yeah.
an escrow.
Well, it sounds like this gentleman's willing to
Yeah.
grant it, and so I would say, and I don't necessarily think it's necessarily, well, I don't know, part of me thinks that if you didn't grant the waiver and they were required to go through land development, it would get sorted out through that process, but I also don't want to put him on the spot with not fully understanding maybe what the significance of granted easement is, so I would say that it sounds like he's cooperative and willing to cooperate for the granted easement. So I don't know if I would tie the two together, but I would say that we should continue the dialogue and try to get the details of who was responsible to try to acquire the easement and try to get to the bottom of
I
that.
just want to make sure that we don't have somebody miss it and end up with some future development where.
Well, it's not gonna get missed because I would think that the developer of that self-storage wants that money back. So they're gonna have to do something to get that money back.
Yeah.
Can I ask, again, because I don't know, I'm scared to ask questions.
No, don't be afraid.
But Tyler, it was my understanding, I'm the one, I have an easement, I thought, to get, that they said, the way I understood when I bought the property, the deeds, and my lawyers are gonna people who are smarter than me, that I pay a ton of money to, that there's already an easement in place for me to connect to the sewer, that was part of me buying it. That's the way I understood it. Now, you guys are telling me something different, which I'm sure you would know, but it's my understanding that there was an easement for me to access that sewer.
So
The only reason it came up was just because we were gonna be doing construction, so I said, we'll tie it.
Are you Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir, Richard, yes.
Why don't we have Mr. Smith provide us with a copy of whatever documentation he has, we have
Yes.
Kristen review it, and if that's satisfactory, then it would address that situation.
They should get money back for us for
To develop the
Well,
self-storage.
if Mr. Smith has bought the property with the expectation it was an easement. That easement, as far as I'm aware, it's not been recorded to the authority. It's not been given or granted by the
Yeah,
authority,
I don't
so
know.
it's an open question.
So yeah, we could,
We'll get to the bottom of it.
I think we, Mr. Smith provide us with the documentation, we review it, and then we can take necessary steps from there.
Sounds good, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
One thing I'll just note for the board is, if granted, they'll still have to comply with all of our grading, erosion, and sedimentation control regulations, so it doesn't absolve them from that. As Mr. Ladd stated, they will need an NPDES permit since there's over an acre of disturbance that's involved, so that'll go through the Chester County Conservation District.
And did you say stormwater?
Yes.
Well, yes, okay.
Stormwater, and then I would recommend a condition that they just be subject to all paying any fees associated with municipal professionals for review of any permit applications.
Very good. Any other questions from the board? Okay. I will make a motion to grant the waiver of land development for the 300 Snyder Avenue project, conditioned upon payment of fees, etc., for professional service review of permits required. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tina. Any public comments or questions?
Mr. Smith, I know it won't go through land development, but I'll have you sign a reimbursement agreement that we use for our land development.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions from the board or anyone? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next is agenda item number 6, discussion regarding the request for information issued by the Westchester Area Council of Governments for the development of a strategic plan for fire and emergency medical services. So before the board this evening is discussion regarding this request for information, an RFI that was issued by the Westchester Area Council of Governments for the development of a strategic plan for fire and emergency medical services. The RFI document was prepared by Chris and Mandy Camplin, the East Bradford Township Manager, on behalf of the COG, and was issued to 11 potential respondents. A copy of the RFI document was provided in the board material and I believe with the agenda materials that was posted. Responses were received on June the 18th, and there were 5 responses received. Ms. Camplin and Chris undertook an evaluation of the respondents, and this was provided to the Westchester Area Council of Governments and has been included with the materials for the board and on the website. The COG discussed this at the meeting on July the 16th, and at that meeting it was determined that the members would bring the results back to their respective governing bodies in order to understand if each municipality will be participating in the process going forward. The deadline to confirm participation is August the 19th. Additionally, the Westchester University has agreed to participate in and contribute towards the cost of the project. The range of the projected financial contribution per government entity based on the estimated cost is between $5,714.29 and $19,285.71. One municipality has so far indicated they will probably not be participating. The cost will obviously be contingent upon which response is selected to go forward, which is not what is being discussed this evening. This evening we're solely looking at whether we wish to participate and continue with this process, understanding that ultimately it could cost the township somewhere between that $5,700 and $19,280. Okay, board comments or questions?
And I just wanted to add a few more things regarding that. We also have East Goshen's commitment so far, so we have 2 Westchester University and East Goshen have so far committed to participating and paying their portion, whatever that may be, towards the strategic plan. We will have a coalition meeting on August 27th, which I've also invited the COG members to attend. At that meeting, we will develop a scoring sheet, and we will all talk about the 5 applicants or RFI documents that were returned. and hopefully at that point make somewhat of a decision, and then interview the ones that were chosen. If it's all 5, that's fine. It's just we'll jump to 3. We'll do interviews after that process, and then we'll come back together as a team, and after the interviews, and decide which contractor we want to use. Maybe multiple contractors. We may want one specific for EMS and one specific for fire if we don't feel that one contractor is capable of doing both and qualified to do both. So that, we'll make that decision at the coalition meeting. I think that's it so far. You want to add anything, John, to that?
Well, I just want to express my own support for this initiative going forward. We've been having these meetings with our fire and EMS providers now for several years, and that's something new. And before that, they weren't sitting at the same table in the same room, but now they are. And it's important, given the challenges that are facing all municipalities, not just us, but all across, the state of Pennsylvania, where there's less and less volunteers working the fire calls and EMS calls, and the cost of equipment's going up. Going into the future, we need to have a game plan about how best to deal with this. So this would give us that game plan. So I think it's definitely something that we need to support and be part of.
One of the other things I did was, in sending this out to the other townships for the contribution, is I listed about 4 pages of reasons why this is really important to do this study, and have a 5-year plan also associated with that. Our volunteerism is way down, as Steve can attribute to, and it will continue to go down, which means in the future, potentially, we're going to have to pay salaries and benefits to paid employees, which costs a lot of money, in addition to capital costs and a lot of other things that we need to plan for starting now. And then the 5-year plan will outline what the costs will be, and then we can figure out from there where we go and how we implement it. Plus, this strategic plan will also give recommendations on different models that they think that would suffice for our area. There's a lot of different models out there right now. The current one we have, which is an all-volunteer model in the state of Pennsylvania, is not working anymore. So in order to plan ahead, we'll look for recommendations from these companies as to where we need to move forward in the future, and then implement those changes depending on what we all agree to in the coalition. And that's all.
Thank you, Tina. Other questions from the board? My question was, so the range of costs that I described were on the assumption that all municipalities participated?
No, I factored one out of it.
Okay, so if going through this individual board approvals, we do lose 1 or 2 more, if that was to happen, would we regroup around the potential cost, or how would that play out?
So I was not involved in the discussion, but that may be the rationale behind East Goshen's authorization, because East Goshen committed up to $20,000 towards the project. So if you lose one more municipality, it changes the cost range to about $6,700 on the low end to $22,500 on the high end.
And how many are we expecting to participate at this point?
Total of 6.
Yeah, I'm anticipating probably 6 total, including 5 municipalities plus the university.
Okay.
And I gave until the 19th because the last board meeting is on the 18th of August. So I gave until the 19th, and that one meeting that was actually East Goshen was on the 18th. They committed sooner.
Okay.
They actually had till the 19th, but they committed sooner. So that was a good sign.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
Yeah, so if we agree tonight to participate and move forward, are we then agreeing to a specific maximum amount that we're going to be paying tonight? Or just expressing that we're going to move forward? And, okay.
Well, you could kind of take either approach. You could say we're committing to participating in this, or you can kind of take an approach like Ms. Goshen took and commit to a maximum not to exceed threshold amount of a certain dollar figure.
And I guess this goes to Sean's question. When the consultant is ultimately selected by the group of you at the POP, or is that going to be brought back to the board for a final approval, or is it just?
It'll have to. They'll have to come back to each
Each entity will have
But
to.
don't you want to give direction to the COGS if they know how much you're willing to spend? And I think the way East Goshen did it makes sense.
Yeah, that's,
Like at the high end, what's the high end? Divide that by 6, and are you willing to spend that?
so the high end comes out to, if there's only 6 participants, the high end comes out to 22.5. So like I said, I think that's kind of what might have informed East Goshen's maximum cap of like 20,000.
So when they agreed to participate, they put a max on how much they
Yeah.
want to spend.
Correct.
So we would probably want to do the same thing too.
Right.
Correct.
The 20,000 isn't going to cut it from East Goshen if it's 22 on the high end with 6, right?
It all depends. Maybe we'll be surprised and we'll get 7.
And it depends on what contractor's chosen
Yeah.
too, as to what the cost is gonna be.
Yeah,
My other
exactly.
question is, how involved are the EMS companies in this process?
100% plus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, they are gonna be involved in interviewing and day-to-day stuff, a lot.
One of the things we did prior to putting this together was we sat down with each provider and talked to them about like their concerns, challenges, things they'd like to see addressed through this process. And not only do we have them write something up, but we sat in on individual interviews with the leadership from each one.
Yeah, we gave them like 6 questions to answer, and they all got back to us amazingly with their answers and their reports. And then we sat down and discussed in detail with them regarding the 6. It's in the packet here, the 6 things that we asked of them, which will help prepare prepare the RFI also, in sending it to the contractors, the 5, so that there are 10, actually we sent 11, so that they'll know where we stand as far as population and answers that they responded to. So give them a good heads up.
And if it's decided that just one company isn't able to deal with the total scope of this, does that mean that this price range could double?
No, because they would just have the EMS piece or the fire piece, so it would be just that portion. So no, it would not double. It would be less for each of the companies.
For each of the companies, but the total for us might be more?
No,
No, okay.
no, it will not be more.
Well, we can certainly put a cap on the dollar amount, and then if it's ultimately comes back and it's not within the dollar amount, we decide whether we want to proceed or not.
Sure.
Yeah, the 6 items we asked of the entities to provide us were staffing, response time, financial data, patient outcome, clinical performance for EMS only, concerns, and mission statement. That's what they responded back with.
Okay.
Very well at that.
So the way I envision this working is each municipality will say yes or no, are they going to participate in this process or not. That'll be informed to the COG at their meeting in September. Hopefully select a consultant either at their September or November meeting and then bring that back to each governing body that's participating to ratify.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then is there a board member willing to make a motion to confirm our participation in the COGS process for selecting a company to perform the analysis?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
With the cap? Are we doing
With the
it
cap.
tonight?
Okay,
Of
what
what?
cap do you want to suggest?
Probably with the maxes here.
42.5.
Yeah.
Why don't we match East Goshen? Let's go with what East Goshen.
That's fine.
Okay, so
That takes one of the proposals out then. That means you can't pick the most expensive proposal, right? That limits the COG and picking the most expensive.
Yeah, we can do that for
Well,
sure. How
if
are
East
these,
Goshen won't participate, it's going to be more than 22.5, so.
how
we don't
are
want
these
to-
allocated? Is it by population or what is it? Like how,
It was just an even split
an even split?
between each municipality.
Yeah.
For the study.
Correct.
Okay, well.
This is just the cost of the study.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think it's reasonable, whether it's 4, 5, or 6, to say that we're not willing to spend more than about $20,000. That should be reasonable when you multiply it by 4, 5, or 6 and get it a damn good piece of work done. If it's not, I want to know why. So
Well, the other thing
personally
you do
find
is you go back to the contractor and you say, this is all we're willing to spend. You
Yeah.
cut your number.
Yeah.
Do you want the work or not?
Yeah, I just,
I would do.
I would say 25.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so just to confirm, the motion has been amended to be approval to proceed with participation in the COGS development of a strategic plan and vendor selection to perform the plan with a not to exceed amount of $20,000. It was Motion was Tina, John second. Is there any public comment or questions? Doug?
Should I come up?
Yeah, if you might, I sometimes have trouble hearing you.
Good evening, Doug White, West Goshen. Was the board aware that Goshen Fire Company is getting rid of Supply Hall and is no longer going to be doing fundraising in addition to the fair?
No, we've never heard that.
Okay, that's the plan?
No, we've never heard that plan.
Okay, that is the plan.
Where did you hear that?
What, pardon me?
Where did you hear that?
I have patients that are,
Yeah. They're not gonna run a subscription drive anymore?
no, they're getting rid of Supply Hall. Well, they're repurposing it, and they're going to have a training center, and the only fundraising is going to be the fair. So just so the board knows, and maybe the board could be, could have a say in that. And I also was told that Goshen Fire Company is in very good financial shape, generally.
Well, I asked Grant that question, I'm gonna say about 3 months ago, and his answer was they're gonna continue just the way they are now. So,
What?
that's right from Grant, and he works.
Okay, so
I don't,
that's my
I don't know
public,
what the employee said to me.
right, that's my public comment, that it was told to me that they are getting rid of the pancake breakfast and the renting out the halls for social events, and that they're only going to be relying on the Goshen Fair, and if the board could have a say in that.
Oh, why don't we follow with when's the coalition meeting?
The 20th.
Well, it's certainly a topic you can bring it there, and we'll get an official answer as to what's.
Yeah, so the board knows, and if the board would like to see the fire companies continue raising their own money the best they can, you know, generally.
Well, I would be surprised if they would be stopping your subscription plan, quite frankly.
Not the subscription plan.
That's
The Good Fellowship has that. I'm talking about Goshen Fire Company. So I don't think Goshen Fire Company has a community plan where you give them a donation of $125 a year, and your ambulance would come and serve you for, well, they may.
Yeah, they have that.
Goshen has that.
They've had that
Like,
for a long time.
okay.
Yeah, it's for the BLS service there.
Okay, that's for their ambulance, but generally, just so the board knows, they are changing how they're going to be doing fundraising. Thank
Okay,
you.
well, we'll have that raised as a topic at the coalition meeting.
Thank you.
See if it's confirmed or not. Thank you, Doug, appreciate the comment. Any other comments from anyone on the motion, Steve?
Yeah, just a couple of comments on the chart that you put up. And basically, you know, the municipality chart. Good Fellowship does cover about 60% of the ALS, the BLS for West Goshen. It's not on the chart, as well as the ALS for the township. And you may want to put a note on there for the university, the population about 15,000 actually when they're in session. That makes a difference. It's a high population, and it's something that should be considered, particularly since they're paying for.
Do you want to send me those numbers, Steve?
Excuse me?
Would you mind sending me those numbers?
Sure. Sure.
Well, you have them, you have the population or as part of your exhibits in the master plan. They gave very detailed enrollment projections and things like that. And I don't know if you know this, but at one of the borough meetings, when GFAC was there making a presentation, the university happened to be there too, because they were giving a report. And as a result of hearing GFAC's presentation, the university agreed to make contributions to them. So I'm not sure about
They did that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
I mean, they were making directly, they were going to directly pay, the university was directly going to pay GFAC for the services provided to their students. And that came about as a result of them sitting in a meeting and hearing the presentation from GFAC.
So we bill the university, reimburse the municipalities.
Yeah, like I'm saying, something different was agreed to at that meeting, where they would pay directly to GFAC.
So we're going to be different than the borough, that sounds like.
We get paid.
We get paid.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it was something that when they became more aware of what the impact of their population was on the services, they agreed to pay.
It doesn't trickle down to the fire, unfortunately. We used to get a donation from them. not the university, but the foundation, like $1,000 a year, but even that.
I think it would be beneficial to the fire company to go speak directly to the university, because at least my experience in interacting with them is when they become aware of these situations, and, you know, leadership has changed over, they step in. Like, that's what I've seen.
They're very, I don't use the word cheap, but they just wouldn't give us.
I feel that the leadership has very much
It's
been
very
more
much
concerned to
changed,
try to work.
and they're just proud of it.
I can tell you, when we approached them about participating financially in this process,
There's no question.
they didn't bat an eye.
There's no question. They wanted to contribute 100%.
So
They
I-
want to get more involved in the community.
Yeah, I mean, we approached them years ago about maybe the student fee they pay every semester, maybe $1 on the student fee for fire. It was like,
Different regime now, different,
I would,
yeah, I would try them
can
again.
you send me the name of your contact?
certainly, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? Margie?
It's not directly related to the motion, but I'm curious, will the pension contributions be discussed in how other municipalities are contributing to fire pension? I just know that every year I see about $250,000 a year in our budget that goes to fire pension.
This is what comes in from the state that we just send straight out, is that?
Oh,
what you're
Fire
doing?
Relief Association? Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah, that's not part of this.
That's not.
It goes to farmers relief.
It goes to
Yeah.
It
fire.
goes to farmers relief. And if you have a volunteer system, if you have volunteers, that farmers relief association like Westchester handles it. With Goshen, they're allowed to use it towards the pension, okay, towards their career people. But we don't have career people, so we use it towards other benefits.
And that's not your money, you're just a pass-through from the state.
Right.
That's an
So
insurance.
insurance companies pay a fee, I think it's
It's a
4
1%.
insurance companies pay a fee that goes into that fund is then distributed to the municipalities then send it off to the fire company. Or goes to that relief association.
Any other questions? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 7 is discussion and possible approval of a proposal from Davy Tree Company to treat 5 trees in Cooper Smith Park for beech leaf disease. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is a proposal from Davy Tree Company to treat 5 trees in Cooper Smith Park for beech leaf disease. The proposed price is $2,890. I will note that Davy Tree Company currently provides service for the historic beech tree on Fern Hill Road. This topic was discussed at the July 15, 2026 Park and Recreation Board meeting as part of a presentation by Eunice Alexander and Renee Matty with the Goshen Tree Tenders. Mike Cacovo, our Assistant Public Works Director, obtained a proposal for the work. I did review the township's 2026 budget, and there is more than adequate funding available to complete this work in the parks maintenance budget. However, since this is outside the normal scope of our tree maintenance, which would be things like trimming, removal, insecticide treatment, included in the budget, I wanted to present this to the board for approval prior to proceeding.
So this was something that's identified by the tree tender folks and not by our own staff, correct?
Correct. They did it I was at the July 15th meeting, and Ms. Alexander and Ms. Matty did a presentation on this issue. The Park and Recreation Board felt pretty strongly that this is something that should be done. Okay. So Mike went out to, since we work with Davy for similar types of treatment related to the historic weeping beech tree, Mike contacted them to get a proposal.
Yeah. Just on page 1 of the proposal, Chris, it says beech leaf disease injection for 4 beech at Cooper Smith Park, but then it goes on to identify 5 specific locations. I presume that's just an error.
4 between the playground and 1 is 250 on the
Yeah.
bridge.
I think what Sean is saying that should
There's
be
a
5.
5.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. I have any other questions. Does any other board member have questions?
I just have one question. Will this treatment have to be duplicated next year?
I can ask Mike to speak to Davey about that. And if so, what we can do is we can work it as a maintenance item into our 2027 budget.
Thanks. Thanks, Nate. Any other questions from the board? Okay, is a board member willing to make a motion to approve the proposal from Davy Tree Company for the treatment of 5 trees for a total of, excuse me, $2,890?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Tina. Is there any public comments or questions? Doug? Would you mind coming up, Doug? Sorry.
Doug, you should just sit in the first row, in case you're getting your steps in.
By the way, West Goshen, is this professional services, so you don't have to do like a bid? Get
It's
the-
also below the bid amount.
Yeah.
You only have to bid if it's more than 23.4.
Okay. So they don't have to do any climbing or anything, they just drill the holes at the base and inject?
As far as I know.
Yeah. Kind of a little expensive if they don't have to climb, but, okay.
I can tell you, in seeing invoices for any kind of tree work, it's expensive. Anything with trees is expensive.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Any other comments or questions? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Next is agenda item number 8, discussion and possible ratification of the electrical supply agreements for certain electric accounts of West Goshen Township through the CoStar's Energy Procurement Program. So before the board this evening is ratification of electricity supply agreements for certain electric accounts of West Goshen Township. Specifically, the accounts before the board relate to the 2 new pump stations dedicated in the woodlands at Greystone, 3 existing pump stations, the administrative offices, and the wastewater treatment plant. The bids were opened on July 15th, 2026 through the CoStar's Energy Procurement Program. The results were as follows. For the pump stations in the woodlands at Greystone, NRG Energy was the lowest bidder at $0.0972 per kilowatt hour.
0.0972 cents.
But that's written as a dollar amount in front of it, so that's 9 cents, 0.72, not 0.09 cents.
0.0972.
Dollars. It's 9.72 cents.
All right, 9.72.
We'll agree on that.
Yes, the price is 9.72 cents per kilowatt.
There we go. The contract term would be August the 1st through December the 31st, 2027. So 15 months, 16 months. For all the remaining accounts, the low bid was NRG Energy at 8.37 cents per kilowatt hour. The contract term being January the 1st, 27 to December the 31st, 2029. So if the accounts for the new pump stations, the PICO price to compare is 10.9 cents per kilowatt hour. Electricity for these accounts is currently supplied by PICO. The electricity for the remaining accounts is currently supplied through Jack Rich, Inc., doing business as Anthracite Power and Light, and the previous rate was 6.82 cents per kilowatt hour. As such, the new rate represents an increase of 1.55 cents per kilowatt hour. In speaking with Scott Harford with the CoStar's Energy Procurement Program, he indicated that electric prices have substantially increased due to the cost of generation and transmission, and that the markets do not indicate any return to lower pricing anytime in the near future. Questions from the board? No
Do you have
questions?
the annual dollar amount and projections?
No, unfortunately I don't. Especially for our large accounts, it's hard to project that out because it fluctuates.
Okay, so you don't know if there's a particular budget impact for this year from this?
Unfortunately, I don't. So this will be factored into, for the Greystone pump stations, we should see a decline considering they're on PICO, so this will be a little bit lower than the PICO rate for those. And because of the timing of when those were dedicated to the sewer authority and when the last bid went out, that's what we included on the last bid that went out. So we might see a little bit of a cost savings for there compared to PICO. The ones for the remaining accounts won't go into effect until January 1st. So those will be in our 2027 budget. I'll provide this information to the finance director as we kind of work through that process, but I can't really adequately forecast what it's going to be.
Okay. The alignment of the pump stations to be just through the end of next year, is that so that we have other accounts that would then be part of part of the next phase of CoStar's next year?
That's correct. This will actually align it with our street lighting accounts.
Yeah.
So this will align everything with those accounts.
Very good. Okay, I will make a motion to ratify the electrical supply agreement through CoStars as described. Is there a second? Thank you, Ashley. Is there any public comments or questions? Steve?
Has the sewer authority thought about putting solar on any of the buildings so that they can start to?
We've looked at solar space down there, and most of the buildings are relatively small, so rooftop solar is not really a good idea. And the actual other footprint that's available, there are longer-term issues related to potential further requirements on discharge in terms of pollution reductions, so like ammonia reduction and other potential processing steps that might be needed to be added. So we don't want to necessarily take up some of the space with a ground-based solar system. I mean, may need the space for other processing. Yeah.
And then I assume that the solar system, you're happy with what's going on?
Oh, we're very happy here. Yeah. I was just on a call today with an organization, I forget what it's called, PEA Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania Electric Association or something, that's having an event here later in August about municipal solar projects. Springfield Township, Montgomery County is just about to commission I think close to a 1 megawatt system, so it's pretty big. May have got that wrong, so don't quote me. It was bigger than ours. Again, it was done at the township complex. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 9 is approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from July the 7th. Myself and Nate provided Chris with a couple of typo corrections, which he has incorporated. So I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes with those corrections. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any public comments or questions, or from the board? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 10 is approval of the bills to be paid for the general fund, the sewer revenue fund, the waste and recycling fund, and the capital reserve fund. I will make a motion to approve the bills to be paid. Is there a second? So thank you, Ashley. Is there any board comments or questions about the bills list? Any public comments or questions? Margie?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions, observations. Curious about the field trips that the summer campers take. There's like $5,000 for a bowling field trip. Are those field trips included in their annual summer fee, or do they pay extra for those field trips?
I believe they're included in the registration fee.
Just curious. And then Carroll Engineering, I've had this question years in the past as well. Under, I think I have page 4 and page 9 on the invoice list. So it's under road construction materials, $46,000 for Carroll Engineering road construction materials.
That's where we allocate, that's just what we allocate engineering costs, but a lot of those costs are reimbursable.
Okay, and then I think page 9, same thing, we went from Carroll Engineering highway maintenance costs, $25,000.
Those are allocated in the capital reserve fund, and those are all broken out based on project.
Okay, so when they oversee a project, these invoices, what exactly are they for?
So the invoices in the capital reserve fund are associated with capital projects that the board has approved professional services proposals from Carroll Engineering to provide construction administration services. In the general fund, they're a combination of like our road paving program as well as things related to like subdivision land development projects. And again, a lot of those subdivision land development projects, all of those subdivision land development projects are reimbursable, and we bill them out to the developers on a monthly basis.
Margie, don't get confused by this classification of the materials. It's just where we allocate the Carroll Engineering, professional services costs within the budget, within the reports here, the accounting reports. We don't want to create a specific code for every project that we do. So for Carroll Engineering, we've got the specific capture points here. Any other questions? We have a motion, right?
Yeah, we have a motion and a second.
Okay. All in favor of the motions, please say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Passes 4-0 unless Tina sees it. You approve the bills list, Tina?
I do.
Passes 5-0. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:08. Is there a second? Thank you, Nate. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, this is just because I'm going to reimbursement for it.